when I was a kid, I looked very much forward to being an adult. Not just for the regular reasons, but because I believed very firmly that when you became an adult, you got a handbook of some kind, a guidebook that explained to you how to be an adult, all the things that adults know, all the answers to all the really complicated questions that bug kids to no end and that nobody will ever seem to give them answers to. And when I got into high school, I became very resentful that it seemed like my friends and my peers all had gotten copies, and I hadn't. They seemed to be on top of things. They seemed to know what was going on, and I didn't. And when I got into college, I entered that stage that I think a large number of people do, where I suddenly decided I had found all the answers, and they were clearly answers no one had ever heard of before. And then when I graduated college and suddenly got thrown into the real world involuntarily, I realized I had no idea. I had no clue what was going on. I felt like a fraud. And it was a persistent fear of mine that at some point somebody in my life would stand up and point to me and say, he doesn't know what's going on at all. And I would feel like two 14-year-olds stacked on top of each other inside a trench coat. A little under 19 months ago, my daughter Veronica was born. She's sitting right over there and has no idea that I'm pointing to. My wife and I, after much discussion and back and forth, decided to have a home birth. We decided that for a couple of different reasons. Probably the most important was that neither of us like hospitals. My wife doesn't like them because she's a nurse, and I don't like them because I'm a hypochondriac. But we got in touch with a couple of midwives who were fantastic and very helpful. And they helped us through the whole process, and we decided we were going to have not just a home birth, but a water birth. And we got a tub to keep on the second floor of our apartment, right by the bedroom, a 175-gallon birthing tub that broke down into something roughly the size of a duffel bag. And because I'm the kind of person that I am, I spent a great deal of time practicing with it, figuring out how to set it up quickly, how to connect the hose that was going to fill it to the bathroom sink, made sure it worked, all of those things. We took birthing classes, and I felt, as we approached the actual due date, that I was basically on top of things. The night before she was due, we went to a party in our neighborhood for expectant parents. And as tends to happen when you are around pregnant people, the question came up, when are you due? And we said, tomorrow. And people laughed and teased us and made jokes and said, aren't you a little bit worried to be out this late when your baby is due tomorrow? Because we, and if you have kids, you are aware that due dates for children are basically throwing darts at an incredibly large dartboard. We laughed and we said, no, it'll be fine. We're totally prepared, but it's not going to happen. Because I'm telling you this, I'm sure you can realize that at 3 in the morning the next night, my wife woke me up and said labor had started. In retrospect, it should not be surprising to anybody who has met my wife that the first act of her child would be one of rigorous punctuality. But it surprised me. And it surprised everybody else. Our midwives, as it turned out, had a birth that they were also supposed to attend that day. And we hadn't thought it was a problem because what baby shows up on their due date? And so we talked about it briefly, and she said that she felt basically fine. And we went back to bed, and at 9 in the morning I woke up, and she was still in labor, but it was going okay. We called the midwives. The midwife said, well, it sounds fine. You've still got a few hours. And by the way, have you filled the tub yet? So I ran out. And I went through my whole rigorous exercise, and I hooked up the hose to the sink, and I stuck it in the tub and turned it on, and it started to fill. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but your average bathroom sink has a fill rate of approximately half a gallon per minute. 3 hours later, after much running back and forth because the hose came off, because I had forgotten to put the lasagnas we'd gotten to feed people into the oven, because I'd forgotten to turn the oven on after I'd done that. my daughter was born. Because I have the privilege of introducing the next person, I'm going to say, I realized I will never have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. I have some of the answers now. I can, for example, tell my daughter, do not try and fill a 175-gallon tub in 1 hour from a bathroom sink. It occurs to me that that is probably the essence of being an adult and a parent. You learn things, you grow from them, you pass them on. And hopefully that is enough.